Peace to the family. This is your brother Reggie. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. It's 10:48, so this is a late show. Uh, what I've decided to do is keep my foot on the FBAs. Um, I know something that most of you do not know about law and what these groups are doing is leading you down a one-way street. So this is going to be a summary because it's late night and I just want your thoughts, um, and I want your hate. That's what I want, right? Um, I want the FBAs, and this is a warning to the Foundation of Black Americans. Okay, YouTube guidelines are, in fact, that you're supposed to moderate your audiences. A couple of things that you are doing, and I'm just giving you a warning. And I'm patient, and I'm gonna wait. One is every time I go on an FBA show, I get timed out. So I was recently on a show, and a moderator told me to stick to the point. Well, I disagree with the points politely, and I said why I disagree with the points. And then when I put something else in, I was timed out. Um, Let me tell you something. Um, okay, so I know the rules and I happen to know uh, different parts of the law. So let me just tell you, you are not moderating your chats correctly, and there's a lot of hate that you are producing toward other people. Now, I have been called an agent. I've been called Tezer. I've been called a number of names, and I know the YouTube rules, and I hope you know them too. So if you don't want your whole channel deleted, then you would be polite to me. If you don't want your whole channel deleted, then you'll be polite to other people who disagree with you. If you don't want your whole channel uh, deleted, then you will stop your hate speech. So this is just a warning. Uh, this is a warning. Let me say it one more time. This is a warning. You continue to do this, uh, you continue your hate speech, you continue your bad arguments, some of your channels that you've been rocking for a while will just go away. Now, you're going to call me an agent for that? What are you going to say? I'm working for the uh, oppressor? No. I'm blocking your messages, your speech? No, I'm not. Your speech is hate speech. So let's get this. Let's let's get this on the table. Your speech is a hate speech. For everybody who's listening or will listen, what I know about law is that what you're asking people to do or your end result is against the Constitution of the United States. Um, it is against the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. And so I will continue to talk about this. And today I'll just give you a summary. But what you're asking, you can't get. I'm not talking about reparations because you're just using reparations to organize your hate campaign. Because reparations, you're asking the oppressor for your money. That's what you're doing. That's what we are doing. But the way that you are doing it, you're going to ensure that we don't get reparations. Now, I am just going to simply break down uh, some aspects of the law just so the other people who are watching know that you are scamming. As simple as that, you're scamming. It's just simple as that, right? Brother Pan African James is in the chat, and peace to him. Um, he says Pan Africanism or perish. He's right. You don't know that Pan Africanism has a lot to do what we should do in the United States as far as descendants of Africans who were enslaved in these populations. Uh, we use the term black, so thanks Pan African James for saying that. We use the word black for unity. They called us black when they called themselves white to separate themselves from us. We then in turn embrace the word black, not because all of our skin colors are dark black or can be called black, but we embrace it as a unity because on that slave ship there were different African peoples and conditions united us. And then as we move from the word nigger to colored uh, and and then we move to the word black and then Black American and African American. We use that for unity. What you're doing, because you're ahistorical, is that you've changed or you're trying to hijack the word black and only include a certain group of people. And that's why Brother James, Pan African James says Pan Africanism or perish, because the early people who you are hijacking the name from, which is the Black Americans, the the Negroes and the Black Americans at those stages, right? They were recent descendants of the place that you hate. So Africans were still coming into this country, still even after 1865 in the Gulf and being human trafficked up and down the Mobile River, right? And so many of those people were direct descendants of Africa or children of Africans. Hmm. But you don't know that because you're ahistorical, and many of your leaders don't have a college education. Go check and see what they have a college education in, right? Anything, I bet uh, anything not having anything to do with history. And many of you know I do have a degree in computer science, but I have an honors award in Black Studies. And I worked at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, one of the United States' premier research centers, who was named after Turbo Schomburg, who was not a foundational Black American. But his collection became the premier collection in the 1900s and gave many of our scholars the tools in which to make their writings, their speeches um, informed. But you don't know that because many of you was born in 86 on. Well, I wasn't. I was born in 65, so I'm 60 years old. But so you're ahistorical and that you're anti-black and you should take the black out your name, right? Because black for us means unity. So you could call me names. Please don't let it arise to be in defamatory because I will sue you. I simply will sue you. I will take your car, your wife's buggy, your shack, or even if you have a house, I'll take it from you. Trust me on this. So, some of you, certainly with some money, please, please call me a whole bunch of untruth names on YouTube. That is the two elements, right? Third, you doing that is harming my work economically. That's three. So there's three parts of the defamation uh, suit, and I will sue you in New York. I will drag you um, and whoever else wants to come with you to New York. And if you're in New York, you just make it easier, right, for us passing papers, right? And how do I know that? Because I'm involved in a, a defamation lawsuit as we speak, right? And in this case, I've gotten rid of 4 attorneys from the same firm, and uh, I have a sanctions motion against both the old and the new, um, working with the plaintiff that I'm working with. I do know how to. I do know federal law, and I do know state and city law. I do know that. I have 121 citations on an important clarity of the law in federal court, which is 12B6 motion to dismiss, which the federal court, did dismiss my case without prejudice. And then I went into state and city, and I can't talk to you what happened, but I can just say that I did not fail. I can just say the parties agreed, right? So test me on my law. So since I do know law, I'm going to do something that I usually, really don't do too much on YouTube, is talk about law. Okay. So I think that you got my warning, right? You keep striking me from your pages, and at the same time, uh, putting up hate speech. I think it's against my people, right? I'll give you some time. You keep doing it, and I will tear all your pages down. One person, right? And I got friends too. So it just won't be me. So I'm giving you a warning, right? Watch your mouth. Okay. You could disagree with me, but you can't disagree with me. Uh, Most of you, I won't even debate because you don't got college, right? I'm not going to debate uh, people who think they're charismatic, who don't know how to cite, right? I'm not going to debate you. You might have some swift words and some bars. You may have all of that. But as far as being able to cite, cite in law. So let me just get you out of here in my summary. And then later on, I'll come back and I will um, do you even more worse. The foundational Black Americans simply do not know law. This is a critique of the foundational Black Americans FBA lineage-based reparations under the Equal Protection Clause. You people want reparations from the oppressor, uh, those in the United States that did crimes against our people. We want that too. However, your strategy is lineage-based reparations. Uh, you don't understand harm-based reparations. You think it's the same thing, and it is not, right? You do not know that you are trying to alienate Africans and Caribbeans, but you do not what you do not know is that many people what we call or are called or they call themselves white people, they have black blood, and some of their ancestors were enslaved, right? So, but you don't know that. But you do know about the $5 Indians, right? You know about that. Well, because it's lineage based, do you know how many Europeans, uh, people that you call white Americans, can get reparations under lineage based? But you don't know that. And that's what I'll talk to you about later, right? You don't know that. You don't control that. You just run your mouths, but you don't know law. But I just gave you something to think about if I have to unpack more of this. So let's talk about you're Americans, right? We are Americans, right? We live in America, right? There's laws in America, right? There's the Constitution in the United States, correct? Am I correct? there's the Constitution. So if there's a Constitution in the United States, I think that we could follow it. Now, uh, you want reparations, but reparations has to be correct under the Constitution and case law, right? In order for, uh, let's say, claimants or plaintiffs to receive reparations because you want something from them, right? Now, reparations could be legislative, right? It could be in the courts, right? Um, and it could be federal. It could be also local governments, state, city, counties, even towns, right? It could be there, okay? Um, but whatever reparations program is approved or proposed, it has to be under the law. So let's talk about the law because it's obviously that you running game on our people, right? So let me just get you out of here real quick. So I'm going to read the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. It says the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution states, no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. This Constitution mandates requires that government action treats similarly situated individuals equally and is explicitly bars the arbitrary use of classifications such as race or ancestry for the allocation or denial of benefits or burdens. We want the benefits and we want the burdens. But the clause says that it bars the arbitrary use of classifications, such as race or ancestry. So in the Constitution, it states it directly. Directly. Okay. And there are equal protection conservative advocate groups that read everything that is proposed, and then what they do is they sue. Who do they sue? The the people, uh, whether it's city, state, or any government type in the United States, agency or anything that delivers any type of award based on ancestry and race. Did your local FBA scammer tell you this? That you want something from the people that you're calling the oppressor that have oppressed us, and we live in the United States. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we live in the United States, and we're governed by their laws, and we want them to do something for us, but the way that you're asking for it, not the way others are asking for it, right? Uh, can't be granted. Now, there was a reparations case, and you don't read law, so you don't know about it. It was the last federal reparations case. It was the Pelman Farmer reparations case. I know about this because I met her in about 2001 at the New York City town hall on reparations, where I testified for maybe 8 minutes on the panel under oath. Have you done that? YouTubers, FBA YouTubers, you scammers? Have you ever testified under oath? Yeah, well, I have, right? And I was asked to present, and I was the youngest person to present, 2001, right? Non charismatically, right? Not with a lot of fanfare. And I testified with um, uh, many local politicians in New York State for um, the commissioners, or no, the city council members who were elected, and they convened this, and my name came up, and I testified alongside of Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Deirdre Farmer-Pellman of that reparations case. Uh, let's see, uh, Howard Dotson, the chief of the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture of the New York Public Library, and I did this under Council Member Perkins, who was the Manhattan Council member, right, and a number of Brooklyn uh, Council members. I recently testified at the New York State Commission on reparations. I gave a verbal, and I promised that I would give them my testimony, my written testimony, which I did, which was 25 pages. It's based on harm-based reparations. You YouTubers, you make a lot of money with your hate speech and stuff like that, and you claim that you love our people and you're for our people. Have you done that? Have any of you done that? Oh, I think that doesn't matter to you. You know what matters to you? Mob rule, right? This, right? That's what matters to you. Mob rule. You think that someone's going to hear your voices on YouTube. Oh, they already hear your voices on YouTube, and they know that you're leading our people down a one-way street. So your talks are a gift to them because these equal uh, protection conservative groups will use your pages in their briefs against lineage-based reparations and your harm, your hate speech. Thank you very much for effing it up. Now, in that case that I was talking about, the last reparations case, Judge Posner was the appellate judge. And what he said was the following, and I hope this sinks into you. The injury to the plaintiff's ancestors, meaning Deirdre Farmer-Pellman and the consolidated cases that they consolidated for this reparations case, Cato and some other plaintiffs, they chose Deirdre Farmer-Pellman because she had a terrible argument. It seemingly, on the surface, suing banks for reparations. But the problem was that Deirdre Farmer-Pellman couldn't even tie herself and her ancestors and her lineage to those people that were harmed by the banks who participated in slavery. So let that be a, a, a thinking point for you, right? A research point for you. If you're claiming reparations and you, the plaintiff, cannot tie harm to the people that you're suing, right? Then you will lose. Then if you as an individual are trying to sue a state, you know that they have qualified immunity, right? And that is superior. You have to go to the attorney general first of your state, and then you're going to have to ask to sue. If you don't do that, then you didn't give proper notice. But you don't know that because you don't know law. You might know traffic stop law. You might even know some criminal case law, right? But you don't know civil procedures. Okay, so you'll be dismissed by failure to notify. Okay, so now if you want to do a class action suit against the state, the same procedures happen, but now you need an attorney because you cannot represent yourself against, how can I say, the in a class action suit. You have to represent a body, but you don't know that, right? So now you need attorneys to do that. FBA, what are you buying with your money? Is it in a pool or is it personal? Is it in your personal cash apps? Where is it? Is it in a fund? Right? Now you clown Umar for what Umar's doing, but you're doing the same thing, right? It's personal. You are, how can I say, connecting your personal money with what you think is uh, FBA activism. Okay, so you're conjoining money, right? Don't be surprised is what if while you're suing, IRS gets involved. You know why? Because you're so busy snitching on Umar Johnson, you don't know that Dr. Umar Johnson's case is a test case for you, you dummies, right? About conjoining money, right? So now, uh, if you manage to get an attorney's going to review your claims, and because attorneys are officers of the court, they can't engage in frivolous lawsuits. But you don't know that. So getting an attorney to do it to risk his license is probably not going to happen. Why? Because he or she should already know, or she or he should already know about the Pellman Farmer case. And they should already understand the Constitution. So certainly if they go forward with any frivolous litigation, they're going to be sanctioned. And you as a defendant are going to be sanctioned too. And if you want cities and states and counties to do it, well, cities, states, and counties have tried lineage based, and it has cost millions of dollars uh, in losses that were taxpayer roles, meaning Black people's roles in those states that have majority Black populations, or a large mixed population, right? And so it's already caused them. And then there is a number of cases which I will cite in my larger conversation, um, to show you that it has been tried and it's been failed. Have you told the audience that you are yapping about that lineage-based reparations has cost already Black people multiple millions of dollars? I'm talking about up to $40 million. So it's been tried and it's been failed. So what the H are you yapping about? So let me just read what Judge Posner said. The injury to the plaintiff's ancestors are not an injury to the plaintiffs. The wrongs done to someone else, even an ancestor, are not actionable claims for the descendants in federal court, unless the descendant can show concrete injury to himself as a result of the defendant's conduct. So you FBA yappers, you are going to have to show actionable claims. And you're going to have to show that how you are harmed. Oh, please don't do post-traumatic slavery, psychological damage. Well, you're going to have to show that you went to therapy for it. You're going to have to show something. You're going to have to submit affidavits under oath that you have been harmed. Oh, but can't you see we were enslaved? You're talking to the descendants of the slave masters. You're going to have to show plausibility. Do you know where plausibility is? I know plausibility very well. 12B6 motion to dismiss plausibility. How do I know? Because there's 121 citations on plausibility toward me, right? I in federal court. So federal court is you have to understand that federal court is the lowest bar, right? And sometimes when you go into federal court, the bar is so the way they construe cases in federal court is not as stringent as city and state laws. So you better go into a city and state law if you want to meet the threshold, because let me just tell you, I worked for whoever, and I sensed that they were going to fire me, and the basis was discrimination. Well, I did everything I was supposed to do. Went to the EOC, did all of that stuff, right? Waited a year in EOC. They had not decided, EOC, they had not decided. So then I said, well, I'll sue on my own as pro se. So I fired the EOC. So I go into court, and the court's ruling was, well, Mr. Mabry, we understand. Uh, we understand, but the law says that it has to be adverse. So you were at your highest salary, you were still getting promotions. So what? They prohibit you from going into meetings that you were going into before. That's not adverse enough. So I sued before I got fired, right? And the court said that that wasn't adverse enough. I should have waited till I got fired. Well, after the decision came, they did terminate me. Uh, and so I said, okay, fine. I'm not going back to federal court. Well, I should have went back to federal court, but to set a precedent, but I went to city and state court. What I mean is that your claims, your personal claims of post-traumatic slavery and, and all of that, it has to be adverse enough in federal court. Now, when these equal protection groups sue, they sue in federal court because they know that it's much more stringent. Okay, I said a lot. Let me read more what Posner said, right? He said this. Posner wrote extensively on the issues of ancestry and lineage in the context of reparations. Here are the expanded and most relevant portions of his opinions in the case regarding African American slave descendants litigations, which you haven't read because you don't read much. You listen to your favorite FBA hype person. So you're not the ones to even involve yourself in this because you listen and you don't study. Judge Posner said, slighting the defendants, right? Just slighting them. Like, when a judge says this, like he's dissing you in law. All that to one side, whatever you said. There is a fatal disconnect between the victims and the plaintiffs, meaning you plaintiffs, you're not even connected to the victims. When a person is wronged, he can seek redress. So that means that if you are wronged personally, you can go into a court of your jurisdiction, your venue, if you're wronged. And if he or she wins, his descendants may benefit. Meaning that if you win something on real estate, or you win something in a car accident, or even if you win in a discrimination case, your descendants may benefit. And it has been cases where people have had these cases and they passed away before the ruling, and then their descendants were able to pick up the case and continue, but you don't know that. But the wrong to the ancestor is not a wrong to the descendants. You're Americans, right? You Black American, you foundational Black Americans, right? You live in the United States, right? All of that, right? You follow the law, right? Right? You follow the law. Well, this is the goddamn law. When a person is wronged, he can seek redress, and if he wins, his descendants may benefit, but the wrong to the ancestors is not a wrong to the descendants. For if it were, then problems of proof to one side, statutes of limitations would be toothless, right? So dealing with cases that are, in this case, that are 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, but then again, you have to tie yourself to the person that was harmed, right? But if the court allowed that, then statute of limitations would be toothless. A person whose ancestors have been wronged 1,000 years ago could sue on the grounds that it was a continuing wrong, and he is one of the victims. What he did is he didn't even deal with slavery at that point. He just said he disrespected us and the plaintiffs, but he disrespected those who are arguing lineage-based reparations. He just disrespected you. A person whose ancestors has been wronged 1,000 years ago could sue on the ground that it was a continuing wrong, and he is one of the victims. Right? I'm laughing because this is your arguments. But then he says, but the causal chain is too long. The causal chain. The causal chain is too long and has too many weak links for a court to be able to find that the defendant's conduct harmed the plaintiffs at all, let alone an amount that could be estimated without the wildest speculation. I mean, this is how the courts treat bad law. And what you're giving us is bad potential pleadings, right? You can't estimate your own damages. You can't estimate the group damages, but we know what you want. You want the crab legs. You want the cause. You want those things for yourself, not even for your children. Your children get scraps. How will I know? Because most of us, not just most of you, but most of us, right? We live in the here and now, right? We live in the here and now. We use that money to be popping. Let me read that again. So, but the causal chain is too long and has too many weak links for a court to be able to find the defendant's conduct harmed the plaintiffs at all, let alone an amount that could be estimated without the wildest speculation. So how law works is that you have to plead a causal chain, meaning this happened, and then after, because of, but for, because of, those are words that they use in law, right? Because or but for this happening, then there was harm to me. But if you don't know the but for or the because, or you don't plead it correctly, right, then it's going to be dismissed. Now, he says, it is impossible to determine how much, if any, less slavery there would have been had the defendants not done business with slave owners. What effect a diminution of slavery would have on bequests by ancestors of the class members, and how much of the value of those bequests would have trickled down to the class members. So now he gets, now Posner is usually a kind of what you call a liberal judge, but here he showed his teeth to us. He said basically that our ancestors who were harmed, that they did business with slave owners. Oh man. But you're Americans, and you're Black Americans, and you're under the Constitution, and many of you love Donald Trump, right? Because you do his talking points. But he said you didn't even mitigate it. We can't even tell if your ancestors did business with slave owners. Oh man, he's not just talking about African tribes that you clown, and he's talking about Black Christian slaveholders who bought themselves some slaves for their field, right? You know about South Carolina, you know about Virginia, right? You know about them parts where there were free blacks, right? Sometimes children of the slave master who was had to be called black, right? That were liberated and they was given some acres, and in order for them to turn some type of living, they needed labor. And so after the white person got the best slaves, you went down there and you got yourselves some niggas. Oh, you don't know about that? Uh-huh. Oh, you don't know about the many black uh, folks that fought for the Confederate side against, against slavery? No, you're not a historian. You're a YouTube chatter. You don't think that this stuff does come into law? It does come into law. Well, anyway, what else did he says? Well, what effect a diminution of slavery, a reduction of slavery would have been on a bequest by ancestors of the class members, and how much of the value of those bequests would have trickled down to class members. Now he really spits. You know that spit when you what is it, snuff? When you got some snuff, you know the snuff, that pre-cocaine, that tobacco, and then you need a spit cup. And again, if there were a legal wrong, it would not be a wrong to any living person unless they were somehow the authorized representative to bring suits on their enslaved ancestors. With some exceptions to be noted, the plaintiffs are suing to redress harms to third parties, their ancestors, without even being authorized to sue on those parties. Now, woo, what did he say? He says that grandma, I mean, not grandma, but grandma's grandma, who might have been a slave depending on your enslaved, depending on your age. Wow. Uh, grandma's grandma didn't make you the authorized person to bring justice for the family, right? Did you talk to your kin folks about grouping together and doing it? Why are you trying to get money on grandma's grandma? You know how that happens in the South, where you go and try to get some land of your grandma, and then you think you got the land, but then who sues you? Your cousin, because you ain't the authorized representative of grandma's property. That's probate. Do you know about probate? Well, he took it a point further than probate. He took it to the point of you are not even the authorized representative of grandma. As a matter of fact, you might have been, how can I say, married. I mean, you might have been a child out of wedlock, right? Or grandma may have been really, really, really light skinned, passing, and you too dark, and you wasn't the favorite. I'm from Newport News, Virginia. Paper bag test. I know how that works, right? But you ain't even an authorized representative in the way they construe this law to sue for grandma's grandma. Then he goes, he done had his breakfast. Suppose a class member could prove that he was a descendant from one of the slaves insured by Aetna or transported to the Union Pacific Railroad, or another defendant, or bought with money lent to the buyer by the predecessor of the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, still another defendant, and that these transactions were illegal. I'll give you that. And that the descendants of slaves are among the people whom the laws were intended to protect. I'm give it to you for now. But had he not been insured or transported or bought with a bank loan, how would the financial welfare of his remote descendants be affected? You got to prove that he was. Would this ancestor have been freed or perhaps never enslaved in the first place? As the plaintiffs stress, slavery was profitable. Good money. Good money. It is conceivable that slaveholders would have been unable to insure, transport, and finance the purchase of slaves if northern companies had been excluded from the provision of these service or had refused to violate the state's law that they sought to keep them from providing these services. You still have to prove, which they did not and could not, any of their descendants in the related transaction. We're not talking about the Dawes Roll. We're not talking about the freedman. We're talking about insurance of slaves. How could you prove that your ancestors was the ones that's insured? What you do is you have conclusions, you have thinking, you're hoping, but that's not good enough in the law. And so that's why Judge Posner, but you Black Americans, we all Black Americans, African Americans, but you a special type. You the daggone foundationals. You the foundationals. You the super, you got the S on your chest. Let me see who's talking to me. Maybe somebody's talking to me. You the special ones. Yeah. You're supposed to be smart ones. You on the internet day and night. 2 occasions. I want to thank Nathaniel for supporting me. Appreciate that. Everything helps. My brother, thank you so much. My Cash App do work. But what I'm doing is I'm breaking down what they don't tell you because they're leading you down a one-way ship. Now he goes. Now he spits from his snuff. You know how you spit? You know, because grandma could spit, 6 feet away into the spit cup and never miss. There is no way to determine that a given Black American day is worth off by a specific calculated sum of money or monetized emotional harm as a result of the conduct of one or more of the defendants. This is all case law. This is case law. It would be used word by word, right? If you dare put up some lineage argument in court. There's no way to determine that a given Black American day is worse off by a specific calculatable sum of money or monetized emotional harm as a result of the conduct of one or more of the defendants. A harm to your ancestors is not a harm to you. Then he says, he's taking another snuff. If the descendants could sue the tortfeasor directly for that amount or for the tortfeasor's profit in a suit for restitution, there would be either double recovery or an impossible task of allocating the monetary recovery between its descendants and the states. He's saying to you, how do you know that a particular slave master, a particular bank or anything didn't give your ancestors any money, right? Food, shelter, clothing, or anything like that. And then I'm sure this Freedmen Bureau, Welfare Bureau will come into that because they will say the United States spent good money and we ain't had to. After the Emancipation Proclamation, we spent good money on housing and food for you Negroes. Good money. We educated, we helped in schools. Shoot, we spent millions of dollars, right? Why you ain't talking about that? What you asking for is double recovery, boy. But in any event, suits complaining about injuries that occurred more than a century and a half ago have been barred for a long time by the applicable state statutes of limitations. It is true that trolling doctrines can extend the time to sue well beyond the period of limitation, but not to a century and more beyond. It is that with that period that he destroyed harm-based lineage-based reparations with that stroke of the pen. I'll read one more section and I'll open up the line. I did want to go through this case, Adirondack Constructions in 1995 that happened before this that led to that decision. Let me see. Let me just check the chat. What the chat talking about? But these people don't do law. What's Pan-African James saying? These folks don't know that the move to the term African American was a calculated naming based on African scholars like Clark famously saying, what is he saying? Famously saying, sorry about that. Where is it? I clicked on something wrong. What is it? Okay. I got to go back to Pan-African James's quote. Certainly, Pan-African James started off absolutely correctly, because uh, Pan-African James knows, like I know, that Dr. John Henry Clark was making particular cases. So I can't find that. Where is it? Hide messages. Where is it? Okay. So these folks don't know that the term African American was a calculated naming based on African scholars like Dr. Clark famously saying that a people must be tied to the landmass, right, for which they come. Yes, Dr. Clark did that, and but in these legal arguments of Posner, that's not enough. And Dr. Clark is my teacher. But I know more about Dr. Clark's work, but Pan-African James is right about the strategy that Dr. Clark was construing to help, and certainly help in the unity of Black people, right? So that we can get together and find those people who know law and can sit in the room and construe it. But he had one of his great students, which is Brother Reggie, who's right here, right now. I was involved in some of those later conversations. Who are we going to listen to? Our historians or dummies on YouTube? We should listen to our historians, our scholars, our legal advisors, like Attorney Ogletree and others. We should not be listening to YouTube yappers. Super Wavy Shawnee, what's going on, my good brother? Thanks for stopping by. I had just been so busy. I am trying to get my watch hours up so I could at least be monetized. I can make more on the cash apps. But matter of fact, my cash app is listed. If anybody wants to donate, fine. Oh, Mika, who messing with Reggie now? Oh, the FBAs. But I can't say that they started it with me, but I am definitely putting my foot on their neck. I've been called an agent, a coon, a Negro. I've been called a Tezer. I've been called all of these names by people who are educationally and legally less than me. These are young men with some hair on their chest and a pork chop beard and fancy words, but empty. But thank you for asking. Thank you for coming on. uh, I don't know if the grin is for me or for someone else. F with my law. Don't F with me personally, right? F with my law. That's all I want you to do. F with my law. What is going on here? That's what I want you to do. Say I'm wrong in law. Because you see, uh you're fighting the Constitution. So your fight for reparations, it needs to go through both houses for a bill, right? If it's federal reparations, if it's city, state, county, it has to, how can I say, it has to be legal enough that a city and state and county can't be sued, and they are being sued and have been sued. What's going on? Smash Rockwell, my good brother. Peace to you. I liked your show today. I just could not stomach. I thought that was a setup of those two people, right? They were just so, but they won't call a Smash Rockwell to be on that show. And Smash came on. Smash came on his lawyer outfit, right? He took off his jacket. He had his white shirt and his tie. They won't call on Smash Rockwell to be on one of those shows. Won't do that. Philip Baines, my good brother. Philip Baines in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They just opened up the Arts of Africa. You can go down there and walk through it to see to see the great exhibit on the arts of West Africa. So since you go to the museums, you're a smart, good brother, right? Uh, okay. Smash Rockwell said, I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's talking about pan-Africanism altogether. Well, pan-Black American, pan-African American, still got the word African in it, right? I don't know. I'm so disappointed in your stance, elder brother Reggie. Where is the Cash App link for donations so I can move on and return to your teachings later? FBA all day. Nathaniel, what is the stance of reading law? Here's my Cash App link. What what is your stance? I mean, why are you upset with me about reading the law? You want me to not tell the people the truth? What stance should I have? A grassroots mobilization on Black Lives Matter? Or do I want to be sensitive about what happens in law? I froze. Hmm. Give me a second. I think I froze. I don't think it likes me screaming. So I think I froze. Give me a second. Okay. Give me a second. Should have. Okay, so let me get in the chat. Uh, if anybody can hear me, let me know. I froze. Mhm. Okay, what we got here? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Sorry. Okay, so let's stop sharing. Anything's open? What's open? Okay, what's open? Uh, uh, sorry. Hmm, hmm. Okay, so you hear me. So, okay, thanks. You hear me. So I can't move. So, so basically, until my screens unfreeze, right, is that this is a question of law. And the foundational Black American yappers, uh, they haven't shared anything legal that will work. Nothing. And then it's a scam because what they're doing is illegal in the United States under the Constitution and under case law, and so they're trying to make something happen, but the Supreme Court has already decided on this issue, and that's what I'm trying to show you, right? Now, my brother Nathaniel, right? So, Nathaniel, what I'm trying to help you with is law is important to all societies. And then law, whether we like it or not, we have to get better. So please don't be upset with me because I'm putting you on game. I'm putting you on legal game. So please don't be upset with me on that. On the screen is press one if you can hear me. By the way, so I can know. Um, at least I can do this part right here. So press one if you can hear me. Let me just check. If you can still hear me, press one. I would appreciate it. not talking about anything legal. This is why we want reparations because of our ancestors, because we built this country, right? Building this country is not a harm. So why are you bringing that up for reparations? Did But nevertheless, building this country is not a harm. So that's not a need for. Oh, we built this country and we got nothing for it. Okay. Which ancestor of yours did what? Oh, my ancestor gave free labor. I mean, they didn't get paid enough and all of that. Okay, they didn't get paid enough. Okay, can you prove it? No, I'm just saying. No, no, that well, weren't there poor white Americans? Weren't there? What was the wage? What was the salary at that time? Well, we got paid less than our than we were sharecroppers. Yeah, I know about sharecropping. My daddy was a sharecropper. My daddy's daddy was a sharecropper. My daddy's daddy was born a slave. I know about slavery and sharecropping. I understand that. But uh, sharecropping was legal, right? It was legal, right? Like slavery, right? Okay. So, did your great granddaddy Reggie make a case in court for it? Did he write anything down? Right. Uh, my grandfather on my mama's side, he couldn't write to the day he died. Right. That's Alfred Pearson. He couldn't write to the day he died, so he ain't write nothing. So now my daddy's my on my that was my mother's daddy. On my daddy's daddy, right? My daddy's mother's daddy, that was Cook Dickens, right? My 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 daddy's grandfather, he was uh how can I say, my granddaddy was born out of wedlock, right? So whatever he wrote, we don't really have access to. His name is Willie Pender. So I'm really Reginald Pender, right? But I took my granddad. Well, she died early when my granddaddy was 1 or 2 over some swine flu virus, or something like that. She died on the field, right? So she wasn't writing, right? So like me, like a lot of you, we ain't got those records. Let me see if I can move this thing now. Am I still okay? So I am still frozen. So, so I don't think I'm no different than y'all. But what it is in court is what you can prove. Does that make sense? What's in court can you prove it? Now, me as an individual, but when you take a class, how do you prove it? You need affidavits. You still need proof. My man Camdy Verse, how you doing? Peace to you. Um, I am putting my foot on the FBAs with law. This is something that they can't get across. Nathaniel said, "I got Africans telling me I'm not. I'm African, not a slave. Africans could say anything, just like somebody with a wine, a bottle of wine on a street corner. What does that got to do with law? That's like, I don't understand you people, not you, Nathaniel, but I don't understand you FBAs looking for people in Africa, looking for recent Africans, looking for what? I mean, that's what Hitler did, right? You're looking for stray comments. That don't mean nothing. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, because my computer's not free, unfreezing. What I am going to do is I'm going to be offline for a quick second because I am going to have to get back online. So this. So give me a second so I can finish up this. So anyway, my Cash App does work. Buy me breakfast tomorrow. Let me see if I can. I waited long enough, and this is not working. So I got to crash my computer and come back on. I knew I should have not used this Chrome browser. I knew that. So give me a second. Put in the chat what you're thinking about the show. Appreciate it. And let me see if I can crash some of this stuff. Hmm. Great. Let me read the chat as long as I'm on. Okay. Yeah. And it's going on 12, so I want to finish about 12:30. Reading the chat. Anybody else got anything to say? What's up, Immortal Dragon? Peace to you. James Modest, my good brother. Thank you so much. I'm putting my foot on them FBAs. James, you think they can get around the law now? And this is just a summary. Oh boy, this is killing me. Can y'all still hear me? Okay. 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 Can y'all still hear me? I'm still trying to do this. Okay, great, great, great. Got Africans telling me anything's happening. No. Almost, almost. Looks like I got some movement. Okay, peace family. This is not working for me, so I'm going to have to end the stream. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's unfortunately that my computer locked up, but I was going to continue this maybe tomorrow, where I can read the case. But in summary, I showed the equal protection law in the United States, which lineage-based uh, uh, awards is it's not constitutional. I showed the Posner case where Posner specifically talked about ancestries of our people, and ancestry alone certainly can't be awarded. It has to be harm-based. And then lastly, I was going to show you the particular cases that show, in fact, that that the FBA groups are leading us down to failure, and it's purposeful because how can I say, they don't care. They get cash apps. They they get YouTube money. They are separating our people. They can call a lot of people names, and they can call me names too. But at the end of the day, I'm really not the one. So anytime any FBA person wants to deal, I can show law and embarrass them. Now, making a street movement, protest, and this is like we call it protest, that don't work. It don't work in law. So why don't the FBAs take the black out their name and get out the way? So that's going to be my comments for tonight. I'm going to check just one more time just to see if, in fact, I could, if it unfrozen, so I can end. But if anybody can show me in law while I'm wrong, please put it in the chat. Don't show me your feelings. I mean, I have good people that come on here like Nathaniel and stuff. That's FBA all day. But what I'm looking for in law, can anybody show me in law, right, that I'm wrong? That's that's most important, right? Show me arguments in law where they feel that they can get lineage-based reparations based on lineage-based. I'm not saying that we cannot get reparations. I think that we have some plans to get it, some workarounds, right? And I think there are cities and states that are working on that. There are commissions that are working on that, but they don't need the help of the FBAs. I went to the New York State Commission on Human Rights to testify, and it was a whole bunch of freedmen there. And what they was doing is disrupting the meeting, calling people Negroes. We can't get nothing done like that. That's disruption, right? And now what they're doing is they're going around and looking at black politicians, and they're happy that 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 the Republicans are putting their foot on black Democrats, and so that's reducing even the little bit of constitutional congressional representation that we do have, and they're happy about that. So I have come to the conclusion that the FBA is an op group against progress for black people. They are so frustrated that they think that social media is going to help them. And I've already said that you keep blocking me because I'm coming in to talk and I'm raising points. I know you don't want to hear it, but there's a right way to do that. And then at the same time, you are in your channels pushing hate speech, right? And I'm just giving you a warning because it's just not people like myself, but it's other people. YouTube, once they sense that you're not moderating your channels and there's a whole bunch of hate speech, you go away. So then your movement goes away. So then you have to do it on Twitter for as long as they tolerate it, and X as long as X and Twitter is the same, Instagram, right? So you're hurting yourselves. So let me just go check my computer one more time, and otherwise I'm gonna say goodbye. Give me a second.